is what's going to happen next week, in September. And it's a really reflection of a lot of people thinking. Maybe some will say, look, we have heard this before. It's going to be a week or 10 days of a storm. It's going to end up. When we are going to have demonstration in the region there, in the houses, against the US, we have a very weak position to defend it. You ask for democracy, now we have a democracy. You spend $1 trillion in Iraq to bring it. It's free of charge in Egypt. It's a free of charge in Syria now. It's a free of charge in Tunisia. It came as a result. These people are going to be democratic. They have 110 political party. Great. So they have an elected parliament. Fine. If they are saying no, you don't have a dictator that you used to deal with that will impose, the US wishes into the people.
Okay, let me reach back to the lady very patiently waiting. Yes, ma'am, you.
Thank you very much. Danya Greenfield with the Center for International Private Enterprise. I wanted to return actually to the issue of Yemen that you spoke about briefly, and just to push you a little bit on the statement that you made that Saudi Arabia is not responsible for everything and can't control the situation there. And I'm curious to hear a little bit of your thoughts about what's going on behind the scenes and what, from your perspective, would be the optimal solution, and whether or not that aligns with U.S. interests as well. Thank you.
Okay, you see, I will go to the question of Prince Turki article. The Arab Revolution brought something new. My legitimacy is in the street, not in the U.S. And when U.S. washed their hand 5 minutes from Mubarak, who served U.S. interests for all these years. For me, as somebody who's sitting on the top of the pyramid, okay, what the value of U.S. legitimacy to me? Absolutely nothing. So the question is the street. This is why you have this all adaptation, try economic reward, and this. The question of Yemen, you ask Yemen policy in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia in big trouble in Yemen. They have no successful policy. They try everything. Inject money, try to maintain loyalty with the tribal leaders, cooperate with the United States on the question of counterterrorism, because it's coming to me eventually if I'm sitting in Saudi Arabia. But Yemen is a very, very difficult country to control or to impose some sort of influence inside Yemen. And we can witness now the Saudis' influence inside Yemen very limited, I can tell you. Even in this crisis, they cannot really pressurize Ali Abdullah Saleh to a point that they have to resign. And by the way, there is no point, they have no interest in that Ali Abdullah Saleh departure. They want a departure of Ali Abdullah Saleh constitutionally. They agree with the point that a new election, early election, yes. But they understand that the opposition is worse than Ali Abdullah Saleh 100 times. You cannot replace, if you look at the name of the opposition, they are not unknown, they are well known in terms of corruption. So the Saudis in deep trouble in Yemen, how to control the situation. It is a big problem, and the American is not in better position actually. The question of Bahrain, I think you refer to Bahrain. Bahrain is for Saudi Arabia is the confrontation line with Iran. Physically, it is where the Iranian and the Saudis power. Iraq used to be, but Iraq is a strong country. But Bahrain is rely on Saudi Arabia. And if you lose you lose Bahrain to the Iranian influence, this will have a huge impact. This is another Iraq. This is another major strategic loss. So the question here, you look at that strategically, the Saudis will never give up Bahrain at any price, I can tell you. If you look at the other as a domestic issue, yes, the Saudis understand there is a genuine need for reform in Bahrain. Nobody denying that. But if this pressure in the street going to have an external dimension, I will fight it. I will fight it. Absolutely at any price. So this is the question here. Is what happened in Bahrain? Is it a national movement like Egypt and Tunisia? Absolutely not. Half of population is still supporting the regime. You're talking about sectarian dimension here. And the majority of the Shi'is, which are represented by Al-Wifaq, they have 18 MPs out of 40 MPs in the parliament. They didn't start this problem because they have their representation in the parliament. They have their demand for reform. But two small movements, which link to the Iranian influence, start the whole trouble in the street. For me, if I'm sitting in Tehran, I will never allow it. Even if the Bahraini try to give major concession, I will not allow it. So Bahrain is not only the question of a human right, the question of minority or majority right. It is strategic calculation. It is the front line with Iran.
I'm afraid we are out of time. There were other hands up. I apologize to those I didn't get to. Please join me in a round of applause for our three panelists.